All right, you want to fight crime? Let's get dangerous.
Let's do something again because I just realized what actually happened.
Oh,
And I
no.
don't understand why this thing did it the way that it did, but nevertheless.
I thought it was like, oh, okay, he's doing something new.
Something new, yeah.
Oh, it was StreamYard not being on the right show. That's what it is.
Oh, I wonder about the
Okay.
background.
To make it official, let's get dangerous. And now that's more like it. I was trying to figure out, I was like, why is it doing the wrong thing? And I'm looking at it and I'm like,
Oh
it's not showing the comic book spectrum one. I don't understand why, so I had to switch it over. It's like now it feels a lot better. I don't know, for something's telling me it's probably weird, something deep down is I need to get to Saturday. I don't know. I don't know. Saturday probably going to be a ranting day.
I kind of got that from the chat.
Yeah, the whole diamond thing. I kind of figured you said you're going to talk it. I would like to start with an apology to women, some specific women. I had been giving Mr. Gaiman the benefit of the doubt. Information has come up thanks to Brian Rodman. To show that he did do what they said he did. And so I am sorry. I shouldn't have given him the doubt. And I grabbed all of my Sandman comics, including Death, tossed them in the trash today. And I had to get on my computer and delete all of his books off my Kindle accounts.
Well, as far as an apology, I mean, I think that fandom across the board gave him the benefit of a doubt. They didn't want to believe it. And it was an accusation, and they waited until more evidence had come forth. And now that it has, they've done the same sorts of things that you have. So you weren't alone in,
Well, no, there are some friends of mine, women, have posted things from chats where there have been some men who were very their posts make me wonder if they haven't also because they were very defensive of him and automatically was like, no, she's obviously lying. And it's like, well, when I heard about who was behind it, it was like, okay, that gives me pause because we know who this person is. We know who his sister is. But then, like I said, when more information starts coming up, and it's like, okay, and it's heartbreaking because he writes female characters so
Mhm.
well.
Mhm.
He
Yep.
writes so well. Um, and it's hard. It's like gutting that somebody, Death is my favorite character from that group. And he
Mhm.
writes her so incredibly, and she's so compassionate.
Mhm.
She's this amazing character. She's the one who, when Morpheus is like, when he's off the notch, she's the only one who can get in there and talk to him and make sense. And yet he is who he is, and but it explains a lot, because they are going ahead with the next season of Good Omens, but they have sort of pushed him out of the picture.
Mhm.
They hadn't talked about it for the longest time, and I thought, okay, that's the end of it. And now you see Tennant, you see the Welshman, you see Sheen, but you don't see, he's not there. And they've done the same thing with Sandman. Sandman is coming out, but they've removed him from the process.
Right.
And I felt bad for him at first, and it's like, oh, no, no, no. And now to know that his wife may have not only been aware, but she may have helped facilitate
Mm.
some of this. Um, that's just like, oh my goodness, how could you? You
Mhm.
know, it's just, it's heartbreaking. And I'm not asking men to understand. Just, women were gutted, because I know a
Mhm.
lot of women who loved those characters and stuff, and are now asking, and now um we're looking at all the stuff we've ever enjoyed that were written
Yeah.
by men,
Yeah.
wondering, you know should we throw all that stuff away? Hey, Brian, sorry.
Hi, Brian.
I can shut up.
Like I said, I'm just keeping my opinion to myself, because that is. I'm glad that you're bringing up the topic, but in the same aspect, it always comes back down to asking the question: why can't people separate the person from their work?
Mhm.
As women, that gets hard, especially something like this,
Right.
because, and if you've ever had to suffer it, you can't. It's just, it triggers things in you, and it is a pain. I just I It's hard to express that pain. And I'm the mother of sons, you
Mhm.
know but there comes that part where you look at other men, and you look at men, and it's like, okay, you can't talk to me right now. i gotta go I gotta go process. I gotta go get through the feelings. And I know you're trying to be nice, but I have a lot of stabby things, and you don't want to come up on the bad side of that. So
Mhm.
And that's the whole thing, because the person can be if I could say, be a true d bag, but it still doesn't change the work that was done. It's not 100% him. It's a combination of him and other artists that made what these books were.
yeah, and those
And now
artists have
all of
been
a sudden I'm
paid.
seeing these works now being shoved off to the side to dollar bins and cast away as evils because of the evil deeds one man out of that team did.
He's the man. It's not like he was the editor. It's not like he was the artist. He was the creator of that series. Okay? He was the initiator, the creator, the writer, the brain behind it. Okay? And those folks got paid. Their lives aren't going to be any better or worse for this situation. However, it is because what it says is if you get up and say, well, separate them from the work, what it tells others who do stuff like this is, well, people will love you regardless. You can dehumanize, you can destroy, because this isn't just a physical harm. This is like a dehumanization. This is a destruction of your very being. It's like somebody takes the very core of what you are and they tear it to shreds and they crap on it and set it ablaze. And they said, if there's anything left, you go and you go and see if you can make something of this.
But
that is what that is.
Personalization. And that's where I asked that question, because there have been other creators, writers, and artists that have done either like things or even more despicable things.
I don't read David Gerald anymore.
But yet people still hold their work to great degree. And it's been known, and it just seems like, you know what, why are we picking and choosing? We have to get over what the person did.
No, we don't.
I do believe that we all have to process and really
never
come to terms with what was done.
He violated women. A man who sat and wrote works that sounded like he understood women privately was violating them. He's a liar. Mm-hmm. And as a woman in the community, we will never forgive that. You took our trust and you crapped on it. After loving those characters and stuff, the stuff that you did, you then privately, you didn't believe any of the stuff you were writing. He lied. And I know as a man, that's hard.
No, I'm taking her out of this because there have been other people like him that have done similar stuff.
There are a lot of people who I've taken off my shelves.
Personal and emotional about their own view of it, and this is where I'm saying we all need time to process this properly, because I'm looking at, okay, what he did is now in the forefront. But there have been people in the past that has done just the same amount of dirty deeds and everything, but yet you still got other people still hyping up their work as if nothing was wrong.
And when I find out about those people,
how can people just sit there and have half in and half out? It's like, well, I could feel upset about this person, but not this person, and it's just weird when I really look at these types of things here.
David Gerald is a proponent of pedophilia. I found that out through reading one of his books.
Mm-hmm.
I quit reading him after that. It was like, okay, this is what you're into. I get it. I now, no matter how good a writer you are, no matter how much I love Trouble with Tribbles, I'm going to stop reading you. I just can't. Thomas Jefferson, I don't hold him in the regard a lot of other people do. I don't hold.
What about J.K. Rowling?
I don't hold her in regard. Though I actually read the article she wrote.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And what she was saying initially. And after the pushback, what she changed it to. And so on the one hand, it's like, okay, I got where you're coming from initially, but you've now let this snowball into. Okay. So I do keep distance. I'm not picking up newer stuff of hers, and a lot of that I've let go. There are authors and other people who, when it comes out, oh, well, they felt this way about this. Thanks to the incoming administration, which was also a past in administration, there are actors whose work I admired, who I won't watch their stuff now because they were in support of those people's policies and still are. You know, I can't be bothered with Nicole Kidman, because, of a stance she took the first time and has not gotten up and said, well, maybe that wasn't the right stance to take. There are a lot of people who I have had to learn, oh, okay, well, this person does not see me as a human being. So I'm not going to give them my attention, my money, whatever. I got up, and it hurt. I got up and I threw those books away today, and it did make me a little sad. But I also had to think about what my integrity, what my core is. And like I said, if you have not lived through this yourself, it is hard. It is hard to look at it from the perspective of those of us who have. It is a pain, that goes to the very soul of you. And while to some degree you can learn to be in the world, there are other degrees in which you can't. And you're always having to keep distance. It took us time for me to go, oh, Joe is somebody I can trust. Okay. There are a lot of men that I meet and come across, either personally or professionally. And my initial is like, okay, let me get some distance. You start moving in on me, dude, I got something on me that might hurt you if you don't back the hell off. So when I first meet people, especially men, there is that sort of no, keep some distance.
Mhm.
Let me figure out who you are, what you're about, to decide if you're safe. And even then, for those of us who have lived through it consistently, there are levels of safe. The people you would be okay with if you were in public because there are other people around. And then the people who, okay, I could sit in a room with this person and talk and not be afraid of them. It is very, you have to learn to make those decisions, because it's like, I have to protect myself. And I won't go into it more than that. It is just, it is hard. It is very hard.
I'm not minimizing what you're saying here. I understand that it's very personal, because we have to, when it hurts you personally, it's deeper than just something on the surface. But we still run into that same problem. It's like, what do you do when you seeing other people saying that it's not? And it's like you can't. It's like you can't really put so much distance where it doesn't bother you. It's just more along the lines. It's like, how much. Why is it that we get to this divide where we can't separate the work from the person? I mean, it's just weird, because even me as a creator, I also have to look at, it's like, what, I just can't say what I want to say or do what I want to do, because somebody could take it out of context and be like, he's this, and it would be ever scored that way for that particular person, and there's nothing I could do about it.
If somebody came to me and said, well, Joe is this, I could get up and say, why do you think that? And then argue the point for what you're not, because I know you. There are people who know him who have not come up and said anything in his defense, because they know him. Okay. There are a lot of, and this is not the first time, especially in this industry, where we've seen somebody who's been exposed, and the people around them who you thought would get up and say, no, that's not the person I know, have gotten up and said, I'm going to keep my mouth shut, because they know this is who that person is. So it's not just, okay, what are people on this side of this discussion saying? But it's like, what are the people around him? when other men are looking at him, and I'm talking David Tennant, who's known him for some time now, Michael Sheen, who's known him for some time now, other writers and whatnot who have gotten up and said, I'm going to keep my mouth shut. I'm going to go over here. They have, and there are times when people have spoken up with others, when people have said things similar about other people. And then there are times when they have not. There's like, okay, I'm going to keep my mouth shut. And it's like, okay, there's something in that dynamic that you're saying, okay, I'm not going to defend him one way or the other. I'll just walk away. So it's like, okay, you know something. And
it seems like it's more rampant, more so, because it seems like those who have made their fame for many decades, all of their skeletons are slowly coming out of the closet, more so now than anything else. Because there's always been rumors and gossip dealing with those people in entertainment that way. So that part doesn't surprise me. It's just more along the lines of why people choose to minimize those people's view that is actually damaged by that, or their view is changed by that. That part to me is kind of like that. It's like, I don't understand it, but at the same time, it's like, where is the empathy? Where is the empathy for those that say, it's like, hey, I've been through this. This is why I cannot no longer support this person anymore. And there's just nothing that's there sometimes. It's just more along the lines. It's like, well, that's just a person. It's like, you have to separate their work from the person. It's like, sometimes you can't.
No, you can't. There are times,
you can't.
And sometimes you can look at things and it's like, okay, this was how many years ago? What are the attitudes that was around him? What are the choices that they made? But then I also think about former President Jimmy Carter. And I'm old enough. I wasn't able to vote when Carter, I was a couple of years too young when Carter ran. But I remember when he came into the White House. I remember him giving speeches and saying, the way Black people are treated in this country, the way Hispanics are treated is not fair. It's not right. And we need to start doing something about it. I remember reports of pushback that he got. I remember Rosalind, because of stands they both took about equality, about human rights. People forget. One of the most interesting pictures from of Rosalind while Carter was in office, there's a picture. She's sitting on a sofa, but she's turned backwards on it and she's staring out the window. And you're looking at her back, but you get the point that she is very much alone. A lot of the women in the Washington establishment shunned her because she and Jimmy had views that went against what people felt. It's like, yeah, they can be okay so long as they stay in their place. Know your lane. But he, regardless, he took the stance that he did. He stood for what he believed in, his integrity. It was a matter of his integrity. And I think, for speaking as a woman, because reading, and I've loved those books. Okay. I spent over $200 collecting Sandman books, either on Kindle or physically, because I loved the women in those books. They were bright and funny and strong and capable, and in the two cases where women were victimized, one by Morpheus and another by Mac Murdock. Brian, is it Mac Murdock is the character? There's in the Sandman book, there's a man who he gets a muse and he rapes her in order so he can be rich and famous and whatnot. And she was somebody that Morpheus knew, and he comes and frees her. You know, and this guy gets his comeuppance for what he's done. Yeah, Ramen, I'm not big on Scientology either. And I do keep I when I find out certain people are Scientologists, there are movies now, especially if they're the main focus, I don't watch anymore. You know, but I've gotten to know you guys and I adore you. Richard Maddock, thank you.
Right, yeah.
You know, I adore you guys. You guys are kind of like brother. I think of you guys like brothers.
I mean, I look at what Brian is saying. It's like, yeah, Cosby, that is a whole different dichotomy. Lovecraft, like I said, Lovecraft is one of those people, and that's on my list. It's like, I don't understand why people are still holding his work to high esteem.
I don't read Lovecraft. I really don't read Lovecraft.
You know, that's just like, okay, everybody is up here. It's like Lovecraft this. It's like, don't you know who the person is? What he said, what he does. It's like, I don't care. I really don't care. But that's my personal stance. That's my personal stance. But that's why I said I understand where you're coming from the personal aspect of it. But it just seems like, where's the empathy? Where's the true empathy for understanding why you have to take that personal stance? And that's what's bothering me more so than anything.
Like else. Brian says about Cosby. I grew up with Bill Cosby, watching Fat Albert, watching him do his routines on TV shows. And he was always such a big proponent of, you don't have to be blue to be funny. You know, and he'd gone head to head with Bill, what is it? Several comics of the day, Red Fox, among others, about that. You know, he there are times when he had gone head to head with several of the Black comics, leading comics. Eddie Murphy, actually, I think in Raw, he recalls a conversation where Cosby got all up in his face about his language. And Murphy then goes to, who is it? He worked with Gene Wilder a lot.
Richard Pryor.
Richard Pryor. He goes to Richard Pryor, and because he's really upset. You know, he's been called out publicly by Cosby and whatnot, and he's really upset. And he goes to him and he says, "What should I do?" And Pryor says, "Tell him to have a Coke and a smile and shut the F up." It was like, oh,
well,
okay.
See, this is the thing that always gets me about Cosby. After doing some research, I believe the comedian was Mama Mabley.
Mom's Mabley
was not one to mince words, and she could be very vulgar.
Oh,
and he learned a lot from her. So for him to take that stance, I was like, well, he's being a hypocrite at this.
Yeah, but you know, it's interesting because Mom's Mabley and Minnie Pearl were contemporaries. And while they would clean things up for television, when they were, when they were traveling, it was a whole different thing. But I think for those of us who grew up with Cosby, who'd seen, you know, the Jell-O commercials, the working with kids, Fat Albert,
the pops jokes and everything like that.
You kind of felt like he stood for something. And then you find out that no, he didn't. It was a lie. Because while he was making this stance publicly, privately, he was another person. And the person he was privately was a monster. And it's the same with gay men. while publicly he was creating this sort of persona for everybody to fall in love with. And oh my goodness, he's so funny and he's so good and he's so talented and he writes women amazingly well. Privately, he was a monster. And for women especially, and the men who support us in that regard, because they've known someone who's done it, who's gone through something like that, it's hit them in some degree. It's hard to say, yeah, we're gonna separate him from the work. It's not, and people aren't saying he's a great writer. He is, but at the same time, he's a creep. He's a monster.
He's
And
beyond all of that at this point.
And by the
is beyond all of that.
And it's like, yeah. And 50 years from now, when those of us who are alive now are dead or dang near it, and some other generation, discovers him, they'll think differently. There are people, I've talked to people and their view of, Lovecraft, because we're far enough generationally removed from him. So they look at it and go, oh, well, that's how they were back then. I have problems with certain attitudes from Asimov, and so it is, I'm not running to read everything Asimov ever wrote. I actually did love his robots thing, because there's a thing in there where the robots find religion that's hilarious as hell. It is. Robots got religion, but at the same time, I have to remember who he was and his attitudes on things. Now it is possible some of those attitudes changed. He was in a Muppet Magazine interview with their Muppet scientists. And I was thinking, oh, that's so cool. And I'm showing it to my kids. It's like, look, Asimov is into that,
But deep down behind the scenes,
there's this whole other thing. And when it comes up, you have to, and individually, yeah, you have to say, is the quality of the work, can we put this aside and just think about the quality of the work?
You really can't. You really can't. In a lot of aspects, when it hurts you personally, you really can't.
You can't. And it's and I, a couple of women I know, and I have talked about it. Brian and I, when he found more information and brought it to my attention, it was like, dang, this hurts more than anything. But we've kind of had a bit of conversating about it. And thank you, Brian, because I love the fact that you are supportive and you got my heartbreak, and because there have been some who haven't.
I've read the Final Girl support group, Brian.
I have not.
Yeah,
I haven't either.
It's great.
I have to look.
I like Grady Hendrix is one of my go-to people for offbeat, quirky, usually spooky kind of stories. And yeah, this did not disappoint. It's good.
Ooh, that'll be good.
Like I said, that not in my wheelhouse, getting into like the horror and all the other stuff. That's not really in my
But his is different. His is very unusual. One was a haunted IKEA store kind of a thing.
Ooh.
I know. When I just heard the little blurb on the cover, and I'm like, oh, I'm so in. And it had diagrams and things you could build inside.
Wow!
I mean, he really pulled out all the stops to make that work. Something that I would add to what you and Joe said, Elaine, and it's this. The Gaiman situation is not unique. You mentioned other people that have also, had a legendary impact on a genre or created a genre, a career. or maybe not a big career, but their influence has reverberated through time. And for all the creatives out there that might be watching this, Gaiman is nothing new. There have been people like him. You and I, people
Yeah.
of our generation, you remember Al Cap,
Yeah.
Little Abner.
Mhm.
They made a Broadway musical based on his caricatures from
They
a
also did a
newspaper strip
movie.
and a movie.
The movie
Um,
was based on the musical.
Right. So he was, for somebody doing a comic strip at the time, he was like Charles Schultz, big.
Right.
Younger people in the audience, they may have to go, who? Al who? And the reason is, although it wasn't as loudly trumpeted as these things are today, when he was older, he went on a college tour talking about cartooning and working for newspaper syndicates, that kind of stuff. And he was a predator.
Oh,
He
wow.
was a sexual predator. And so the industry, society, and everything after all of this came out, and there's proof and everything, he was just sort of, it wasn't under a spotlight like it is today, but there's a reason why he's largely disregarded and forgotten. Along with any kind of, he used to, there were certain charities that he kind of promoted and stuff. Those have gone by the wayside. So when you choose to be that kind of a creative, that's like, I've had some success, I am now going to, compartmentalize, perhaps even in the face of what you're doing, in contrast to the kind of material that you're writing or that you're producing or that you're drawing, and you pursue these other outside that's not my work, this is my private life. It isn't private anymore, and it will have an impact. Gaiman he was a great advocate of libraries. We had posters at the library when I was on the board for a long time where he's promoting, National Library Week and National Librarians Week, and talking about, he had some beautiful things to say about about libraries, but this will impact what he had to say about libraries, because if this guy is in favor of libraries, maybe I shouldn't be. Maybe I or at least take what he said about them with a real big tablet of salt, because we've seen what he's like now. So creative people, especially those that are coming up, but really any creative person, have integrity. Realize that your legacy will be impacted by the things that you do in your, quote, private life, unquote. And some of the things that you dearly love and some causes that you like may be hurt because of your, quote, private life, unquote.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, to get us on a lighter note.
See, the Church of Clyde agrees.
Amen.
It's like, I think when people get rich and powerful, it's easy to bring out the worst in them. That's the whole culture that makes it easy to be evil and get away with it. Probably so.
Yeah, we see that. But we also see sometimes it doesn't. It doesn't. A young man who he started on Roseanne. He played the youngest daughter's boyfriend.
David.
The
guy that played David. I think I know who you're talking about.
It came out that, he had raped several girls. And, it's like, and everybody was like, well, the church is, because he's a Scientologist. And they were like, oh, the Church of Scientology will get behind him. Didn't do him any good. As much as they may have gotten behind him and tried to silence people, it was like, nope, sorry. Me Too movement. We trumped that. The thing about Cosby, more than anything that broke my heart, was the woman who got up to defend it. The woman who played Claire Huxtable.
Oh, you're talking about Felicia Rashad.
She, she got up and defended him. I never saw it happen. And, You know, she reminded me of everybody who's had a mama, auntie, grandma, older sister who got her butt out the room before things went down and didn't come back until well after, and took on this attitude of, I didn't see it happen, so it's not real, you know. And that broke my heart because I actually was fond of her. Loved Debbie Allen to death, you know, because she's Debbie Allen's sister.
Mm-hmm.
You know, love Debbie Allen to death. Love me some Fame. But it was like, oh, you just spit in the face of every Black woman who's ever existed and ever will. You know, I'm sorry.
It was a lot more, because I'm sitting back and I'm thinking with the whole Cosby deal, if it wasn't for the fact that he was trying to put together an interest group to buy NBC, none of this stuff would have happened. None of the information would have came out. I mean, he has been known for Quaaludes and all the parties and stuff that he had back in the 60s and 70s. He was known for that.
I didn't know any of that.
Oh, you didn't?
No, sweetie.
See, the whole thing with Cosby, it's like everything came out when the sexual allegations and stuff came out. All that stuff came out because it really turned out to start with he was abusing things like Quaaludes and stuff, and then he was then moved on to the whole drugging of other individuals. But
understand,
he himself was a user.
He was an
because
addict.
of that, it stemmed.
And the sad thing was,
and the networks kept track of everything.
Oh yeah, they're always going. I think one of the things we should be learning is there's always somebody who's going to find out your dirt, and they are going to put your dirt out there at a time. And you never know who that person may be. You may just tick off the wrong person or type of people, and the next thing you know, every little horrible thing you've ever done hits the interwebs. And but the thing is, you know, and it's one thing where you make, because I think we've all made mistakes. We've all done some stupid things in our youth and whatnot. And I'm not saying that. I'm saying when we find out from certain people that this isn't something once or twice, and it's like,
this is ongoing. Yes.
Yeah. You need to, it's not like, oh, we were drunk, this happened, whatever. And it's like, you need to go make amends. You need to take care of this stuff and go make amends. And you know, and then take some time off to disappear, you know. And then 10 years or so, when it hurts less, come back and we'll have that discussion. You know, Mel Gibson has had to do it. You know, Mel Gibson I don't
think he's completely forgiven. At least some people haven't completely forgiven him.
But what I'm saying is he's had to, you know, he had to back the heck up and then sort of not work for a while. He's slowly getting back into work, but it's not to the degree that he did. And it is and you can see, from what little I've seen of him, you can see that there's an understanding of how choices that he made has brought him to this situation. And I think one of the things is looking at Gaiman, looking at Cosby, is there, you don't see that. There's no, you know, I am lucky because, yeah, we had Uncle Phil, but we also had, unless somebody's going to tell me something about him and my heart's going to break. My favorite parents were Morticia and Gomez Addams. You know, I always wanted to be a member of the Addams family. They were fun and cool, and you could be whatever, and they would, so long as you weren't actually.
Anything was bad about John Astin. I never.
No.
You talking about Raul Julia? or Gomez?
Well, both as far as I know, there's nothing about Raul Julia that but as a kid growing up, I loved the Adams family. I loved the Adams. They were fun and passionate and smart and
Uki.
and Ookie and Kooky, but they loved their kids,
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
and whatever you may have thought about them just being strange and unusual, they were not. They didn't frighten me. They weren't evil. I would have never been afraid of Gomez Adams. He was the dad I wanted. And then as I got older, he was the husband. Yes.
I Boy Meets World, I wouldn't say too much about that parents, because if you go and go Boy Meets World parents, I would have to put the Wonder Years parents in the same category. Especially the dad. The dad to me was awesome, even though he was grumpy all the time, but he understood what was really going on.
But yeah, like I said, I to this day I love Gomez. The guy who played Gomez in Wednesday, I'm kind of, because I've always loved him as an actor. So it's kind of Guzman. Guzman is the guy who played him in the Wednesday series. He of the Gomez's, he's kind of the lesser Gomez. He's not quite up there with Julia and Mr. Aston. It just is.
Julia, I mean, it's just something about him as Gomez, but even more importantly, him as M. Bison.
I always think of that. Yeah.
Those are parts that man was meant to play. It's like Chadwick Boseman was always meant to be our T'Challa. That it was like when he came out the womb, fate just smacked him and said, "You gonna be Black Panther." And he embodies that character so effortlessly, and finding someone to take his place. I don't know. I wouldn't blame the actor, but it's just, there are certain people who take a character and it's like a second skin, because that character reflects something in them, that.
But then again, I'm thinking about it. Maybe it's not him, but I always think about his role in 42. If we didn't have 42, and that's the Jackie Robinson movie.
Yeah, if he didn't do Jackie Robinson, he probably might not have been considered,
because he was a very convincing Jackie Robinson.
But what I'm saying is, and that's what I'm saying. There were. It's like fate said, you're going to do this role, and then the folks that need to see you do that role are going to see you, and then they're going to put you in this other role. And history got made. History got made.
Nobody else could sit back and deliver. As you can see, I am not dead. Very well, I have not conceded. It's like that line cannot been delivered by anybody else in the second Black Panther movie.
True. Like I said, I've had these arguments, and so they could hire. It's like, no, he's our T'Challa. He is our T'Challa. You don't bring in, and I thought it was really smart where it's like, okay, we're going to bring in that he had a son, so that we can do another movie that's 10, 15 years from now in the time of the movie, and we'll see the son of T'Challa. But, at least at Marvel, Feige got it. That for Black people, he's our T'Challa, and that it's more than just a movie character for us. And so there is an importance to it that just makes it where you can't just replace him. Yeah, it's like, and it's so funny because I actually lived less than a mile away from the motel where RDJ got busted
No.
and went to prison.
It's
it-
just funny.
and it's interesting though. I will say I love RDJ just because, and he did get preferential treatment. If he hadn't been who he was, because they allowed him to work. He did a couple of movies while he was still in the slam.
Hmm.
So he was allowed to work the movie, the animated film with Keanu Reeves. He did that while he was in prison.
Okay.
And then he did a couple of bit roles, but he was in prison at the time. So they had to like sit down, the production companies had to sit down and make deals with the prison. Like they would let him leave early, but he had to be back by a specific time each day. So they couldn't, for his shots, they couldn't go over. That's why at that time he was only taking secondary roles, because he couldn't be in any part of a movie where if they went late, that would have like screwed up. So he kind of had a semi parole where he could work, and it's LA, so those of us who live there is like, yeah, well, he's a movie dude. He was on the outer edge of the Brat Pack. And his dad is Robert Downey Sr., who's of course a noted director. So yeah, what are you gonna do? He's gonna get that. But I will say in his case, he has seriously worked, because he was a joke by the time he was sentenced and put in jail. He kind of became something of a joke. It was right up there with, I don't know, after Richard Pryor had the fire and stuff, and I saw the concert film, and he said, yeah, I got those jokes, and he lit him out. He goes, yeah, what do you call this? Richard Pryor running down the street. That was the level of jokes that people in the industry were telling about Downey. And he literally went at the bottom, below the bottom, and rebuilt himself. He rebuilt his career. And if you listen to him when he talks about his life, even though he doesn't talk a lot about that, you look in his eyes and you can see that understanding.
Said, was it Kiss Kit Bang Bang on work release?
That was one of them. He did that one, and the one with the Linkletters animated thing with Keanu Reeves, and I think there was one other that he did. I think he did 2 or 3.
Speaking of actors who were born to play certain roles, I always come back to the guy who does the farmers insurance commercial. He was born to play J. Jonah Jameson. I'm sorry.
J.K. Simmons.
100%.
Yes, and he was as the Santa Claus for Red One. Oh my goodness, he just nailed it. It was like, oh, I want to sit on that Santa's lap. And it was like, okay, that's the Santa who, at the end of the day, he's like, party on, dudes. But it's interesting because there are certain actors that you watch, and I see it in actors in the Marvel universe where they're yes.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
There are just certain actors that you see and you could see it in their eyes. They truly appreciate what it's done to get them to that point. And I keep thinking, because after he'd done the Spider-Man movies, it was like he didn't have a lot of roles that sort of put him, but farmers,
Yeah.
He turned that into just gold. He even had one of the last ones, he had a young woman who was playing an architect in the commercial. I think was his daughter. was in it with. I think he got her a job there, but you could see he was having so much fun doing those commercials, because some of those commercials, the first ones were kind of like, but then they got more and more just like you could
way out there. He's like
Oh!
not phased by it. Not phased by it. It's like like we said, we have seen just about everything.
And Red One, you could just see it was like I'm an he's been in the industry long enough where he knows to enjoy the highs when he's got them, and know that it can flip on you any minute.
If you want to see Simmons do a little master class in a minor role that I just can't not watch if this movie's on. I got to stay in the movie. If I happen to come across it, I got to watch it until at least that part that he's in is Burn After Reading.
Oh yeah, that's
he plays the head of like the
CIA.
Or at least of a division head, and him trying to figure out what all these people under him are up to. The wayward people and those that are threatening to tell the secrets of one of the folks who was an asset for him. And just, he's like, well, what do we learn from this?
He reminds me.
And the other agent goes, well, not to do it again. He goes, yes. I just wish I knew what the hell we did in the first place. But he just sells that role. Every time they do an update, it's an office scene with him, and they're bringing him up to speed. Like, well, the asset, he suffered a really bad accident. Actually, he was shot. Oh. Okay, so he's dead now. Well, we don't have to. No, he's still alive. Okay, but he's in a coma. He's in a coma and not expected to regain consciousness. Okay, we'll worry about him if that comes.
We'll worry about him later.
Yeah, what's next? Just this, and he's not in a way that's like a devious CIA guy. This is a guy running an office. It's just every day.
Wait, he was the peanut M&M in the commercials?
Yeah, he was. Yep, he was.
When I watch him, I remember, and Clyde will probably remember this more, and I'm sorry, Clyde, I keep aging you out. Okay. Did you ever see like the Incredible Men movies? The Incredible Man and Their Flying Machine, Incredible Man and Their Jaunty Jalopies.
Yeah.
What's New Pussycat? The original film version of Casino Royale. And
I've seen parts of that. I've never seen the whole thing.
Oh, you have to watch it all the way through. You have to watch it all the way through. Dude, it is just hilarious. When they got the new guy on as Bond and they introduced him with Casino Royale, and I found out it wasn't going to be what I thought it was. And somebody told me about it, I flipped them several birds. I took my shoes off and flipped birds of the toes. It was like, to me, there is only one Casino Royale. 7 James Bond at Casino Royale that went to save the world and a gal at Casino Royale. 6 of them went to a heavenly spot, and one of them went to where it was very, very hot. And it is the only movie these days with Woody Allen that I will sit through. It is the only movie with Woody Allen that I will sit and watch, simply because of they had these movies like it's a mad world. I call them kitchen sink movies because they grabbed a lot of
everything. Yeah, they did.
And basically, it was these movies where it was just about everything but the kitchen sink.
Like Airplane.
Oh, these Airplane is a lesser version of these movies.
Really?
Yes, you have to see them and understand the jokes for the time in which these movies were made. But what's New Pussycat specifically and Casino Royale, they were wild and raucous and sexy. naked chick strapped to the table with nothing covering her but the straps.
Yeah.
The Casino Royale is a send up of James Bond movies.
Mhm.
And David Nivens and Peter
Mhm.
Sellers and Woody Allen and Ursula Andress and Deborah Kerr.
Wait. Peter Sellers as in Inspector Clouseau. Peter Sellers.
Yes.
Uh-huh. Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
They and a whole bunch of other people are all in this dang movie. Several of them are James Bond. And the fight at the end with all the James Bonds, including a SEAL. I don't know if you ever saw that end fight, Clyde, but there was a SEAL that was 007. They had Native American 007s jumping out of planes. It was like somebody took 75 Quaaludes with a shot of Jack Daniels and put in an IV soaked in cocaine.
Mhm.
And after they woke up, because somehow they survived all that, they sat down and said, I'm gonna write a movie. And that's what you haven't lived. You see, David Niven is as an aging James Bond karate chopping a concrete ball in half, and Deborah Kerr orgasming, dressed as a nun, orgasming about it. It was just
It was definitely a product of the 60s.
It was definitely that and Tony Curtis, because everybody talks about Cannonball Run. Those daring young men in their flying machines, those daring young men in their jaunty jalopies were what gave them the idea for Cannonball Run.
Mm-hmm. True,
because these movies and they only, it's like it's a mad world. They had the least plot ever, and it was all about their performances. Mad world. Ethel Merman slipping at the end of that movie, and they're shooting her so you see her girdle. You just every time. And I didn't see these movies in the theaters. They made it to the Channel 7 3 p.m. movie.
Now I was lucky. Our little theater, our little movie theater, would get these, movies that were a few years old, and they would show them for free matinees sometimes. I got to see the Batman movie, 1966 Batman movie, that way on the big screen.
That's another good one.
And Rat Race. Yes, that's good. But Mad World, I got to see on the big screen for the first time I ever saw it. Was on the big screen with that beautiful color. I can't think of the name of the color technology they were using, but
Technicolor.
But it had it had its own name. It was, and of course we have black and white TVs. The
studios were naming their own color.
Each one, yeah.
Every studio. Understand, back in the day when they started doing CinemaScope.
Yeah.
And then because CinemaScope was one of those ones where for the Cecil D. DeMille,
yes,
Bible films.
Yeah. But that color on the big screen compared to our black and white TV set at home, it was just from the very beginning, the backgrounds and all of the stuff that was, because there were some pretty scenic California backgrounds in that movie too.
Yes.
And beach scenes, beach houses and stuff. And it just all came to life. Just this comedy and all these people that I had seen in other things and knew, so I think it was the first time I'd ever seen Spencer Tracy in anything. And then I was surprised later on to find out he wasn't really a comedian guy.
No, because I think the only comedian in that whole movie was Jonathan Winters.
Yeah.
Yes.
He was the only comedian in that movie. And I remember just the point at which everybody discovers the big W.
Well, no, Durante was also.
Durante, that's right. He was, I've never thought, as a little girl, I never thought of Durante as a comic. I always thought of him, and it's, a rink-a-doo, a rink-a-doo. I always thought of him because I'd seen his show. For some reason, I always thought of him less as a stand-up comic and more of an amusing storyteller and whatnot. But that movie. There are a lot of movies now that you can see if you watch those older films, you see where they get it. Because you can see that these older films were the seeds. What's New Pussycat? You need to go. Bye. Hugs. What's New Pussycat? It's the first few times I saw it, Channel 7, black and white TV. When I went somewhere. They had re-released it in the 80s. And I went and saw it. What movie theater was that? It's the one in the North Side where what's his name got gunned down. Back in the day. Was it Nelson? No. The St. Valentine's Day Massacre. It's where that took place.
It wasn't where Dylan was shot after coming out?
Yeah, where Dylan bought it.
Okay.
They were showing it there, and you haven't lived. You've seen that opening. All that opening animation is just like, you're sitting like, what drugs were they on? It is. You're just sitting there going, oh my God. It is. If you haven't seen them, Joe, let me know, and I will see if I can find them and host a movie watch.
Hey,
I remember I got streaming service. I could go out there and find them if I really wanted.
Speaking of movies and things to see, have you guys watched? I was going to bring this up last time and I forgot it. Did you get to see the Superman trailer? Because it dropped after a week.
Superman trailer.
Break. Okay, what'd you think?
I am heartbroken by what they did to the British guy.
Oh,
because that was really
Henry Cavill.
Yeah. To tell him you've got to quit The Witcher to come back and do this movie because we have the contract on you, and he says okay, and then he does it, and they're like, oh, we changed our mind. We don't want it to anyway. It's that to me.
That's dirty.
Yeah, that was beyond dirty. I'm going to have to go see it though because Crypto.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
Crypto's in it, and John loves the hell out of Crypto.
Joe, what do you think?
I can't explain it, so we can't see that because they were mean. All he cares is Crypto's in the movie. We go see now.
So, Joe, what do you think?
I'm up here. It's like you showed me nothing in this trailer. I want to know who beat him to a pulp.
Yeah, that's a good question.
That's my question. It's like, okay, we see all this stuff of where either he's recovering or he's in the middle of a fight with something, or the people are doing X, Y, and Z, which might get in the way, but we don't see who he's fighting that did what he did where he had to call Crypto.
Yeah.
The only person I could think that he would have done that he'd gotten that hurt with, it's like, well, maybe it was Lobo, or because it's like, okay, of the list of people I know who could have whomped him in any way, it's like, well, it had to be maybe was it Lobo. It's like, okay, I doubt it was Darkseid, because Darkseid would have just come and tried to take over the Earth. So it's like, okay, was it Lobo? What's that Superman he's from the other universe? He's kind of
Ultraman.
No,
Bizarro.
Yeah, but was
Bizarro
it
number one?
Yeah, was it like Lobo? Was it Bizarro? It's a very short list.
See, Ultraman is listed in the credits, but we don't know if it's that Earth 3 guy.
Yeah,
he would be equivalently powerful, but we don't know. In the little clip of him in the trailer doesn't look like an Ultraman guy. So
no,
yeah.
See, that's the whole thing. Cause it's like going down the list. It's like we haven't heard inklings of Mongol, because Mongol could have done that to him. We know it's not Darkseid because they throwing out everything else from the older movies, and we already seen Darkseid.
Yeah.
we're not nowhere near ready for something like Bizarro or anything to that magnitude. I don't think they were going to do anything daring and have somebody like Maxima or a person like that do it.
Right.
Well, it couldn't be.
What about a
It's
magical
not going to
threat?
be anybody that's highly magical, like a Captain Marvel or like I would say like Black Adam or
Oh,
something like that.
yeah. I just remembered the end of Black Adam
Yeah.
is the last we see of Cavill's Superman, because it ends
Yeah.
with Cavill's Superman showing up going, "We need to talk."
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, maybe it was Black Adam, but then it's like, well, I don't
Yeah,
know,
I
because
don't
we
think
heard
so.
The Rock hasn't said anything.
But I
Dwayne Johnson
would not,
hasn't said anything.
I wouldn't, because Gunn is so quirky. I wouldn't eliminate the possibility of some kind of a supernatural threat.
Mhm.
That would be different. That would at least be just like the comic book shop talk is. They're already going to bring Doomsday in. Oh, I'm like, no, I don't think so. I think it'll be somebody.
They did a form of Doomsday already.
They did, yeah, exactly.
A form of. They didn't do Doomsday, but they did a form of.
A form of it, yeah.
Is anybody planning to watch the what is it, Daredevil series that's
Born
coming?
Again? Yeah, Born Again. Yes.
Did you guys see the trailer for that? The drop.
Oh,
No.
I have watched the
Not.
reaction. Joe, look up Struggle Nation. They did the reaction video for Born Again. Holy crap, it was hilarious.
I saw a reaction video of somebody that had only seen the Daredevil character in She-Hulk, where he was kind of a romantic comedy, Charlie Cox, but not the Daredevil that we all know. And
Hey,
saw on
walk of
Netflix.
shame. Walk of
the
shame.
reaction video was like, you see joints being turned ways that they're not supposed to go, and
Yes.
bones popping, and the people were like, oh!
My, how we forget
The
what
media
happened on
night.
Netflix when they had
They had
the intellectual
never seen-
property.
Yeah, they
Well,
hadn't seen the Netflix
That's
show.
people, as I've pointed out in a couple of conversations, once they let Ryan Reynolds go loose and they put Deadpool Wolverine on Disney, that was it. Feige was like, you know what, fine, you put it up there.
We have it separate so the kids can't see it if you don't want them to. So
Yes.
we're good.
So it's like it is just, I think Feige, once they got that up on Disney, Feige was like, you know what? This is what we're going for. You can say yes or you can say no. But guess what? Because I think Feige has now taken the position that Pixar had to take with them about a decade or so ago, where Pixar had to get up and say, you know what? We can take our we can pick up our ball and go elsewhere. And Disney had to go, no. Okay, we will get out your face, because I think I've said it before. It used to be when your project got picked up for Disney, they would give you a notebook this thick, full of
the
notes.
first edit.
And that's just the first edit. And it's not pages, it's just their notes on it. It's not the script itself, it's just all their notes, what they think of what you've done and where they think you should go.
Joe, I thought of you this week.
Ooh.
I got an ash can from my comic book store, Colossus Comics and Games in beautiful downtown Mount Vernon, Illinois. But this is a preview of the new Darkwing Duck series that Dynamite's going to be.
Oh, they going to relaunch Darkwing?
Yeah, I'm going to relaunch it, but and of course, there's no dialogue, but the artwork. Oh
yeah,
the artwork.
Yeah, they're still sticking with the old school Disney afternoon.
They are, but I was making dialogue as I'm reading. It's good enough for me to go, oh, I know what this is. He's saying this. He's saying that.
Yep.
They're doing this. But I don't know. I may have to get it.
Clyde made up his own 30-minute cartoon.
I did.
Speaking
look at this.
Oh.
Here we have. Look at
Goslin. Goslin is like, who does he
he's
think
saying,
he is?
I can't take you to the
cooped up in here. I'm his best sidekick ever.
And I can't take you to the fair
you're gonna need me.
Because they had to cancel the fair. And she's like, oh. Okay, maybe they didn't have to cancel the fair.
Here's the question, because you guys will know this better than I do. The new Super DC, is it Ultimate or whatever? They had some big
Absolute.
absolute.
Superman, Batman.
Dollar
Wonder Woman.
Tree has those issues.
Really?
Superman absolute number one. Wonder
Mhm.
Woman absolute number
I
one.
wonder what printing
Um,
number
I
it is.
wonder what print.
Green
It's the first print.
Arrow absolute number. They've got number one absolutes at
Mhm.
Dollar Tree. They're
Mhm.
bagged. They're in bags, but they're
That's
at
so you
the
can't
Dollar
see.
Tree.
That's so you can't see that they're the fifth printing. 'Cause,
Yeah.
yeah.
But I just wanted, for those of you who are like, I can't afford comics, go to Dollar Tree.
Go to the Dollar Tree.
You can get the
The turnover
absolute.
is that fast that they've got those, keep
You know,
helping
if
them
you're
keep
here
up.
in
Again,
Chicago
issue
on
one
the
has been
South
out
Side,
for quite some time,
87.
a couple of months. So yeah.
I guess that's true. Yeah.
But
But
I
it keeps being out because they keep new prints and the comic book shop didn't get enough here. So they keep, I see the cover a lot still.
But it cracked me up because I was watching somebody who was doing a Dollar Tree walkthrough who doesn't do comics.
Mm.
And just happened to see them. Then she goes, "Oh, if you're in the comics, I don't know what the Superman Absolute and Green Arrow." She says, "I don't know what this is about, but Dollar Tree has them." And I was like, "Holy crap, moly!"
Mm.
Oh, and
with-
before I forget, and the Coming of Nighttime is almost done. The acknowledgement page is in. I've got a about me page to do. I figured out how to fix my issue with the cover.
Cool.
Yay.
I realized I had I put front matter there, and the initial illustration with the title, if I put it on the next page, I can use that space to put the front cover in. And then the illustration that was on the second page, if I move that to the back, I can use that as my back cover. And therefore, my cover issues are, oh, and I put you guys in acknowledgement.
Oh,
Joe,
thank
you made it twice.
I made it twice.
You made it twice. The second time I didn't put your last name in there. Clyde. Should I say Clyde or Clyde Hall?
It's whatever you want. Clyde Hall is fine. It's good. but
So-
whichever, doesn't matter.
So yeah, you guys,
If you're short on space, just use the short version. It's okay.
No. I've got space. I've got
Okay,
space.
okay.
I even put Leia, Beanie, and Lils in there.
Oh, that's
Aw.
nice.
So they're in the acknowledgement section, and then I've got the about me, and then the next issue, and then the back and front cover thing to deal with, and then it's done. I will then be converting it to I have to convert it to both a PDF, and then luckily Clip Studio Paint now comes with, instead of having to take it out and put it into Kindle, you can now, they have a thing where you can click and you can create a Kindle version right within Clip Studio Paint.
Oh, that means I have to go out there and update my clip studio. I haven't done an update in quite some time because I haven't drawn anything on Bristol board in quite some time.
Okay.
Oh.
Just so you know, you have some options. You can buy it outright, which ain't cheap now. You can, I do it the month.
Wait, I have the whatchamacallit. I bought the big package for Clip Studio, so I'm not certain if that's an update where it's a plug-in or if I have to buy
You
it.
need to check because was it the next one, version 4 comes out in March or April.
Okay.
Because I have the monthly subscription,
Mhm.
I can get the upgrade for free.
Okay. So I have to check. I have to check.
You have to
what's
check
going
and
on
make
with mine.
sure to know where you are. If like, did you? Because I think certain people are not going to get the upgrade. They had put a thing in there in December to say if you've got version 3, you need to buy version 4 unless you're doing this, and this. So they just sold I think they sold what is actually not Clip Studio Paint, but I think Manga Studio EX is now on sale. The last version of Manga Studio EX is now on sale for like $19.
Right. I have that somewhere, but I'm looking at my Clip Studio where I have Paint and Modeler. So I'm trying to find my about where I can find out which version I actually own. Okay, version info. Clip Studio 32-bit 1.8, and I'm looking at my license here. So the version of Clip Studio Paint, the overall big package is 1.8. But let me see what.
Ooh, yeah, because we're on 3 now.
But I have to see what Paint says. Clip Studio Paint says here.
Yeah. Because
I haven't been in Clip Studio Paint in almost like 6 months here.
Okay. Yeah, because I when they started last year talking about you had to upgrade, I went on. It's like I do not have $100 and something that I can just throw out you, but it was like, well, you can, for like, I think it's like $9 a month. I have the monthly.
I might have to upgrade because this is Clip Studio Paint EX 64-bit version 1.8 something.
And I'm on version 3 point something.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So yeah, you're probably going to have to upgrade. You'll need to go to the site and sign in, and they should take you through it.
Well, that's the thing. Every time I open it up, it always takes me to what is new and different for Clip Studio. So I'm seeing all of this here. Well, let me show you my screen. I'm going to bring this over to this other monitor where I can show you what I'm seeing at this point here. Because that way, we can all be on the same page as far as what I'm seeing, as opposed to what I probably have to do in the bigger scheme of things here. So this is what I'm seeing here. So when I pull up my Clip Studio, I get this screen before I go either.
Yeah, that's what I get
when
I get it. So you're missing. Okay, mine is updated. So what I've got is there's a strip that says Paint Home. Yeah, that strip on the side. So yeah, you might not have to. Mine is. I will pull mine up tomorrow and take a screenshot of it and see if because I think mine is a little different. But like I said, I think I've got the most to update.
See, I'm not going to log in right now, but
yeah,
I have to find my stuff here. But that's what comes up, because it even has like some of the stuff that I've been working on, stuff that I actually submitted into.
Yeah, you don't have to be signed in for that to come up.
There's like these two things for things I sent into not Chaos Comics. What's his name? The
Comixology?
Lady Death. They had a competition not too long ago, and somebody twisted my arm to send something in.
Oh, I need to ask you. I'm definitely self-publishing via Amazon. Should I also do Comixology just as a backup to do both Amazon and Comixology, or just leave
They're pretty much one and the same now.
Okay. So it does.
There is no more Comixology submit. So when you submit it to Amazon, it's almost as if you're submitting to Comixology. It's just
they still call it that, but it's just
how those storefronts connect now. It's weird.
Yeah,
they connect via. I get because I go through Comixology looking for comics, and so when I pull up Kindle, because the software now knows I read comics. It'll say, new at Comixology. And so it automatically pops up in my feed.
Right. Because Comixology uses the Kindle store now. That's the reason why if you go out to Amazon right now, you could actually buy Amazonia issues directly on the regular Amazon page, as well as on, if you have a Kindle or if you have the old Comixology app, you could get it from there.
Okay, well then I'm not going to worry about it. I'll put it up through Amazon, so I know I've got it. And I
heard some other news before we get off the topic of movies and stuff.
Yay.
Reckless is a trade paperback series that Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips have done.
Stan, what's his name?
Sebastian Stan.
Stan.
Now, I did not know this. Brubaker was the guy who wrote the Winter Soldier version of Bucky back in 2014. And Sebastian Stan and he have got like this friendship going that I got the feeling that he kind of, when they said, well, wonder who we could get, in the MCU to play the Winter Soldier, he was kind of going, I know a guy. So that's who is apparently, now it doesn't have any details about what venue, if it's a theatrical release, but it's an adaptation of the comic book Reckless, which is a neo-noir, late 60s, early 70s. I love them. Phillips and Brubaker. This doesn't get a lot better than that if you like noir, And so they've got him to headline as the character of Reckless, who's a veteran, previous veteran of the Vietnam War, who had some real injuries and issues so he became a private investigator, but he still has some difficulties that really fit well into that era, telling the story from that era and that perspective. Yeah. He owns a theater and he has a young gal that helps him run it. And so it always reminded me of B-Man, because I had written that story, the initial story, before I'd ever heard about or read any Reckless stuff. So it's a minor point, but I was really excited to see. And Sebastian Stan is so good. I have seen him in weird. You don't think so?
Well, he's one of those actors. It depends on who he's working with.
Okay, that's
I think it's a matter of who he's working with, who the director is, who his co-stars are. I think he's one of those actors. Certain people they bring out the best parts of him, and while others you kind of go. Because I saw the trailer for it's the everybody at Marvel who you wouldn't want to be a superhero. So it's Scarlet. It's not Scarlet.
Oh, you mean the Dark Avengers?
They're not the Dark Avengers. There's something else.
Thunderbolts.
Thunderbolts.
Yeah.
And it's like, and there's the scene where he's in it. And I don't know, to me, it was kind of like, oh, okay, you think just because you've got Sebastian Stan standing there that we'll get all excited. I'm looking at, because I'm thinking about the energies of the actors, and I'm not sure how he fits in with that.
I thought, it's kind of an ensemble piece, but his part in Tanya was good and different than what I had ever seen him in before. So,
yeah, but I realized that as the Winter Soldier, he was in a muscle suit.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was in a muscle suit. Especially when he's in, because you can tell when he's in the chair. They got him in the chair, and he's got the second movie. He's got the thing in his mouth, and they've got him in the chair, and you realize from the angle that they're shooting him, they had to shoot him up. They had to angle the camera up a bit at him as opposed to shooting him dead on, because he just, it's like, oh, okay, boy's not as muscular as they'd like you to think. So it's like, okay, I get it, but that's okay. Anthony Mackie, we still have Anthony Mackie and Chris Evans to look at. So, but I did love, I will say, I was very sad that he was not in the next Captain America movie, because I loved the energy that
he and Mackie.
Yeah, he and Mackie have this energy. They're kind of like Billy Boyd and Don Monahan. They have this energy and they work so well. And I hate to say it, especially when they're picking on Tom Holland. that poor guy, and he's honest, because he says, when it first started, I thought they were serious. It's like, because he had come over, they brought him into the MCU, and then they were picking on him. Anybody who's ever seen them do the interviews at Comic-Con, They are just,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
oh, they are so brutal
Mhm.
with him. Poor Tom Holland. And Tom Holland, um, he's such a sweetheart. And I've come to wonder if he isn't a bit on the spectrum because he's really good at acting. I've seen other things. I've seen him do other things besides Spider-Man. He is a really good actor. I really love him. But I've noticed in interviews make him nervous. There's a reason why he prefers to do interviews with Zendaya when she's there because she helps to keep him sort of centered and grounded. And there the last interview I saw that they were together, they were doing it. You could see he was getting a
There's
little,
wedding bells there too.
yeah, he was getting a little kind of, I'm not sure how I can do this. And she just very quietly put her hand on his. And he took a breath and he was able to get through the interview. And it's like, got it. She gets him. And she makes it easier for him because he doesn't do a lot of, depending on what he's doing, he doesn't do a lot of interviews
Mm-mm.
without her. But
They make
talked
appearances
about,
separately, but he does not do interviews without her.
yeah.
Hmm.
And he was talking about there are aspects, he loves the work. There are aspects of working in the industry that bothers him. He wouldn't go into specifics, but you could see certain things and it's like, oh yeah, he's short. He's a very attractive young man. There are probably some people who have, made advances to this poor dude. And he just didn't know how to, because the British film industry is a lot different than American.
Mhm.
And and we do big movies and that puts you in connection with a lot of people. And some of them are people you really rather not. Zendaya handles it. Girlfriend just sort of, she handles her stuff. She's like a boss. And
Mhm.
she's very, I've seen it as she's gotten older. She's very good about setting boundaries. This is the line and you don't cross it. And if you cross that line, I will whoop your ass. I love that about her. She is just very much
That
here, you know,
another character that she was born to play. It was
Hmm.
Mary Jane. Yeah,
she,
she is what we should have gotten from all the other movies as Mary Jane.
well,
I
also,
saw a meme with her and Tom Holland. There's a scene where on the big Trinitron, like in Times Square, um, Mysterio
okay,
is
yeah.
showing who Spider-Man is, and their reaction shots of Zendaya and Tom Holland are like, well, it's that reaction shot, but it's got a picture of her on the red carpet with this strap gown that, I mean, she's just really
Oh, okay.
and then Holland is, Peter Parker is like, and she's going.
You got to admit, that girl knows how to wear an outfit.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
And
yeah, very
designers love her.
nice.
You know,
Well, technically, she is a designer. To a
yeah,
certain degree.
and she's because as opposed to a lot of actresses her age and even some older, she has very specific ideas about what it is she will and will not wear. And
And that
instead of
the
somebody
dress,
coming up to her and saying, "This is what we're going to put you in," she's like, "No, I'm thinking about this."
the
She,
dress, the dress she had chosen or designed or had designed for her, but the one she was in for this, it's one of those kind too that are like, you know, sometimes red carpet ensembles just they either go for the really wonky weird or they just, I mean, there's not a lot left to any imagination. It's just too much.
she's
That one was so attractive, but yet it was classy. I mean, it was beautiful. She wore it well. It was not, overly suggestive or low cut. It was just beautiful. It was
she
a reddish sheen, kind of like a not the same color as the carpet, but bright. Very
yeah,
pretty, very nice. So
she
I'm
wears
impressed.
clothes exceptionally well.
Mhm.
And I think whoever raised her has done a really good job of helping her learn to think for herself
Mhm.
and make decisions and not get scared. when other people come up and say, this is who you're supposed to be. And she's like, "Oh, please." You know? He's like, well, it's nice of you to think that. You know, but and Holland adores her because it is not unheard of for him to be shooting a movie and her to be working on the other side of the planet. And when if he's got more than 48 hours of downtime, he'll get on a plane and go, hey, I'm going over there. You know, he'll go see her. And because I think he flown to the set when they were shooting Dune a few times to see her. Also, I think to let Chalamet know that, no, this is mine. Okay. I will tap dance on the side of your head, but this is mine.
Well, I got to do this here. I got to take a commercial break here, and we probably have time for one comic book review. Maybe.
Ooh, yeah,
if there is any.
It needs to be mine because I prepped this and I wore the shirt for this. So yeah, I need to do one.
All right. So our commercial break is going to be our commercial here for the Multiverse fundraiser that we're going to be a part of on the 26th.
Yes.
And I posted the links.
Yep. There you go. So for those who don't know what we're talking about, get a gander at this.
The Multiverse fundraiser is a virtual con-a-thon and a charity fundraiser all rolled into one package. This year, we've teamed up with Comic Books for Kids to raise funds for their cause. Comic Books for Kids is a charity that provides child-friendly comic books to children in hospitals and cancer centers across the U.S. On January 24th through 26th, we'll be providing both pre-recorded and live Comic-Con style content to include celebrity, comic, and writing guests that include Creek Wilson, Jeremy Lee, Leah Williams, Jerry Gaylord, R.J. Conti, John Cosper, and Dean Hill. Visit www.themultiversefundraiser.com for more information and instructions on how to both tune in and contribute. Remember, we're not just raising funds for a good cause. We're raising fun.
And there you have it. That's where we're going to be at on the 26th here as a group for the very first time on the Multiverse fundraiser. But
we're going to be talking about trade paperbacks or runs that we think should occupy a place of honor in collections. You know, not. Oh, there we go. There you go.
Got my
Mine's
book.
in the other room. I can't show mine.
I got my book. DC, you know, DC is.
She's giving you spoilers. I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to do.
DC Chen is over the moon. He's so very happy. And I feel really honored that he agreed to let me do the thing on his book. I'm getting it down to 10 minutes.
Nice.
That's the only thing that we don't know because we're not moderating it. There's going to be somebody else that moderates for us.
Right.
Have we heard about Eric yet? Have we heard?
I asked Eric if he would want to do a pre-recorded one, and I never got a response.
Okay.
I would assume that that's a no, but I don't know.
But I figured if nothing else, I can do it in 10. You know,
I think it's going to be the three of us. So having an hour, we should be able to just kind of, may have a few like honorable mentions off to the side. Just not the book itself necessarily, but just a list of things that, because I was thinking, I chose one, but I had several others that I thought about.
Oh, okay.
I know of a couple that I have right next to the one that I picked that I could show.
There you go.
Well,
I could do a spoiler of that real quick though.
The other book I can do is the Ballad of Serrata Blue, because that's part of the Rough Side series, and it's the next one. So it's like, well, if I have a few minutes, I can always do Serrata Blue.
Like an honorable mention like that.
There you go.
Green and blue.
The end is what makes this so much a book that you have to have on that same shelf as some of the other grades here.
Cool.
Very cool.
you have completed my task. You have completed my task. You can have anything that you want. Hulk hungry, Hulk tired, Hulk want to go home. Rented. Wait, that's not poof.
Hulk sounds like Godzilla at the end of the last Godzilla Kong movie. Have you seen it, Joe? The last Godzilla Kong? Oh, it's lovely. It the end of it always makes me giggle because Godzilla's job, I guess, is patrolling the world for mutos, other Titaness creatures.
Okay.
And his home got destroyed, so Godzilla found a new place to stay. Have you seen it, Clyde?
Wait, so he's renting an apartment on Kong Island now?
No.
That will be interesting.
Kong was in Hollow Earth.
Now he has to reside in an apartment in Kong Island.
No. Godzilla decided, because it had to be somewhere where Godzilla could like curl up and chill.
You can do it in Kong Island.
No. The Colosseum in Rome.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's interesting.
And at the end, he beats up one creature. I forgot which one it was. He has a fight with a creature, and he ends up going into the Colosseum in Rome. And then stuff starts happening. It wakes him up. He's like, "Oh man, I got to get up and go back to work." So at the end of the movie, after the big fight is over, and he and Kong are like, "Okay, yeah, you stay where you are. I'm gonna stay where we are. We're cool." He goes back to Rome. He goes back to Rome, to the Colosseum, and he's looking at people like, "What?" It's like, mine now.
You're not using it.
And it's like he pulled that officer in a gentleman. I have nowhere else to go.
I saw it and I just could not stop laughing because there's an old monkey episode and I think it's the one that's got Rosemary in it, but no, it's not. It's another one. Is it the monkeys or no? It's not. I don't know. It's some show where the line was, "In here, feel good." Whenever I think of that scene about, Godzilla comes stomping through Rome, and the people in Rome are just like, "Okay, you want to tell him that's a UNESCO world site, and he shouldn't be, snoozing in there," because they're looking like, "No, I'm gonna go have me some spaghetti. You do."
Go have me some spaghetti. Wow, that's just wrong.
It was the most hilarious, especially since you see that there are people who are watching him, because Godzilla's traipsing around the world, so there are people who are watching him, and they see him finish the fight, and it's like, well, where's he going now? And it's like, he's in Rome. What's he doing in Rome? What's in Rome? The Colosseum. What's he doing? He's making a bed in the Colosseum. He just kind of goes in and curls up.
Like nap time. Bye.
It was just, if you haven't seen it, those scenes make the movie.
I have to watch it now. It's been on cable. I just haven't caught it yet.
I think you can find it. If not on Netflix, it's definitely on Amazon, I believe. But it was just, it just had me just laughing, because it's like, of all the places on them, it's like, no, he doesn't like find a volcano, because my first thought was, okay, he's going to go to Japan and curl up in Mount Fuji. Yeah. Looks at the Colosseum in Rome, thinks, yeah, that'll fit.
Now it is time for the gold standard of reviews here with Clyde Hall.
All right. Before we begin, I was going to mention it when we were talking movies and things. We lost David Lynch today.
I thought we also lost somebody else too.
We lost a director yesterday from
Bob Uecker too.
Oh, did we? I didn't see that one. Okay, I didn't see that.
I remember
I think that
Bob
was day
Uecker.
before yesterday. It was
day before yesterday. Bob Uecker.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it was day before yesterday or something.
I don't know. I don't know why all of a sudden I'm just seeing all these tributes for Bob Uecker for all
Okay.
day today. So that's just weird.
But I read a comic book. This is not. It didn't come out this week. This week was didn't have hardly anything at the shop for me this week. So I went back to last week, and Shazam number 19 came out. DC comic, $3.99 cover price. It's written by Josie Campbell. Art is by Dan McDade. Colors by Trish Mulvihill, and letters by Wes Abbott. It has a maturity level of 13 plus. And just to give perspective here, I like me some Shazam. I thought this was my Christmas present from 1973 when this issue came out and DC brought back the original Captain Marvel.
Yes.
Because I had only seen him in an issue of one of those Halloween issues of Justice League where Superman and a guy that was there dressed as this fella in red that they called the Big Red Cheese ends up becoming enchanted and fights Superman.
Okay.
And they talk about, a magical word that hasn't been spoken for 25 years is suddenly called out and brings down a thunderbolt. And I'm like, who's this guy? And, so then all my questions were answered when this came out and they started putting his back issues in things like the 100-page Super Spectaculars. And then I learned who he was.
Was this after they started doing Shazam on Channel 7 on ABC?
The Saturday morning show?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
That came about a year later.
Okay.
But I have since gone back and collected some things before my time knowing who Captain Marvel was.
Ooh.
That's old school.
Yeah.
And I've always had a very tender place in my heart for Captain Marvel Jr., mainly because of Mac Raboy's art. C.C. Beck was the artist on the main titles for a lot of Cap stuff, although there were some others too, but mainly C.C. Beck. But Captain Marvel Jr. was, Mac Raboy, the covers and some of the interior art. Really, in the 100-page Super Spectaculars, they featured him, and that's the first time I've ever seen his work. So I've been at this whole thing with Shazam for a while. And DC hasn't always known what to do with the good captain in more modern times. How to handle a juvenile male who suddenly becomes an adult, all grown up, superhero. It's a difficult, it's a problematic thing when viewed through a 21st century lens. A kid that is an adult and has a lot of the trials and tribulations of an adult, or can. And some of the newer focuses, they have a setting that's more aligned to realism than whimsy, like the original adventures were. And I appreciated it when writers took the matter head on, like Captain Marvel was part of the 2000 series run of the Justice Society of America, the JSA title, where Billy Batson's relationship with Courtney Whitmore was very sweet because they were both kids. But the Captain and Stargirl showing flirtatious affection was quickly called out by the elder members of the team as inappropriate. Taking those kind of matters into perspective was interesting.
Well, the whole Marvel family is featured in DC versus Vampires.
Is what now? Oh, is it? Okay. I haven't read that.
So
okay.
Captain Marvel, that whole family, they're in DC versus Vampires.
The Shazam fam.
The Shazam fam. They're in DC versus
that
Vampires.
means Mary, Billy,
Freddie,
Darla,
all of his foster family too.
I think so.
Okay.
I still
Billy
haven't
and
seen
Mary.
Dudley. I haven't seen Dudley come back. That's the only character that I haven't seen back from the original Captain Marvel.
Right.
Stuff has to come back is Dudley.
Okay.
To me, Dudley having the power was interesting.
Billy and Mary in DC versus Vampires are the final survivors of the family of what happens in that story.
Okay.
and they're on opposite sides.
Well, some of the best modernizing of the Cap, they used him as a backup feature in Justice League, and that storyline. Um, this has been, 15 years ago, 12 years ago. But that is what those two movies that they made, the two of the good, I think, or at least passable DC movies, were based on that with the foster family, the foster parents. It's unlike a lot of material, that first movie especially is almost a direct take of that storyline. So that was an interesting way to look at that concept with a very modern kind of format. And so writer Josie Campbell has been one of those long-term thinkers and scripters for the title since the book. She took the book over from Mark Waid in issue number 10. So this is her 9th issue. And we really only have the three traditional. The other kids don't have the access to the powers right now. Okay. It isn't like they're going to necessarily be left that way. But for right now, the focus is on Mary and Billy and Freddie. Okay. She has a nice touch for handling these characters without bogging down the captain and his cast with stories that are too lightweight or too darkly heavy. She has expanded on Billy Batson's world with relatable problems that a lot of them are not like easily resolved. By the end of the issue, they're all taken care of. No, these are problems that linger, and they take a more realistic approach to solutions. They're not quick fixes. His birth mother, for example, Billy Batson's birth mother, has taken his foster parents to court in an effort to reclaim custody of her son. That has put a financial burden on his foster family and caused resentment from the other kids who, we can't do this, we can't do that because we're being, caseworkers keep coming and bugging us, and to go to court, we have to pay an attorney. So it's gobbling up the family resources. Yeah. That's not the primary story focus, but it certainly creates situations that distract from the hero business that Billy should be all about when he's running around as the world's mightiest mortal. So the relationship between Billy, Mary, and Freddie is also more similar to what siblings, even those who really love each other, go through sometimes. Even more importantly, however, Campbell dives headfirst into how these relationships and problems between the siblings and their conflicts with outside forces become usable by villains, or even in previous issues, the meddling pantheons, which give the Shazam fam their powers. So in number 19, we are treated to Campbell's reworking of Mr. Mind. I'll show you some pictures here. This is the new Mr. Mind. He's pretty hideous. He's, of course, Mr. Mind, the world's wickedest worm originally, but now he's almost kaiju formed in some of his appearances here. So we also have the Savannah family being kind of redrawn by her of who they are and what they consist of.
Okay.
They are part of the plot regarding Mr. Mind. Their sister Butia is also part of the mix. And let's see. Okay, so Freddie has a kind of a bold new look.
Okay.
Well, he was looking different for a little while, and he shed some of the darkness from what was going on with him.
And his legs in a harness.
It has a little harness on it, yes. He's not exactly, he doesn't change and really and completely abandon that he has limitations, physical limitations. It isn't the same as it is when he's a mortal or a human young man, but, and then of course we have the obligatory looming threat of Mr. Mind Unleashed.
Ew.
Yeah, pretty ooey. So, okay. With that said, I lost my screen. Hold on just a second. Yeah.
Oh, that's
Oh,
not good.
no.
Oh
Hold on.
no.
Hold on. I will get it back.
But will you though?
Oh, yeah.
Teleprompter
Do,
goes.
do, 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 do. I used to tape, people used to tape top 40 music off of the radio, and they would have the DJs talking over it right till as the music
Oh,
started
yeah.
to play on their cassette recorders. We've all done that, right, guys?
I
Well,
have.
Yeah.
I used to do that with the Shazam live action TV show on Saturday
Oh,
mornings.
wow.
I would play those just during the week. I'd play them 6 or 7 times. I just love the show.
We didn't have
It's
a
extremely
VCR back
cheesy.
then, so I couldn't see it.
Yeah, I couldn't see. This was just on little cassette audio tapes. Anyway, number 19 retreated to Campbell's reworking of Mr. Mind, the world's wickedest worm, into an infestation with overtones of Civvy Alpha 5's only indigenous life form, mixed with Invasion of the Body Snatchers. The Savannah family has also been undergoing a reimagining with Campbell, and their family structure is also a part of this whole issue's tale. We get a major development, though, with Freddie Freeman, who's taken the superhuman or the superhero name of the Commander, since Billy has been going by the Captain. Freddie's powers have always come from the same pantheon as Cap's, even though Mary's were from completely different ancient goddesses. But as Freddie's Commander form found out last issue, amidst a mental attack on several fronts, gods and legends lower on the mythology scale had appropriated control of his bequeathments, resulting in slightly different power sets for him. All to the detriment of Freddie keeping control of his anger at Billy for the chaos brought to their foster family. So the result, Freddie in his metahuman commander form is taking out his resentments with Mind pushing his buttons. And this issue, it's revealed that the alternate Pantheon's plan was a test of their champion. One that Freddie passes by showing and proving that using his powers to do what's right is and always has been his ultimate driving force. And so he now has a new Pantheon.
Ooh.
His new Shazam utterance calls forth the powers of these new Pantheon contributors. Samson, strength. Hephaestus, skill. All-Father Odin, power. Zagreus, speed. Argetlum, ability. And Midas, cunning. With Freddie fully in control as the commander
Midas?
now.
Wow.
Midas, yeah. He and the captain team for the issue's climactic battle, one which concludes with its own impressive little twist. It may be the end of this story arc, but the monster mind is not yet defeated, and we're going to be seeing more of him the next few issues. So the good, the captain and the commander, the names I like, Captain and Commander. They match. It sounds really well, but it leaves Mary out in the cold. More than ever before. Mary, Captain, Commander, Mary. One of these things is not like the other. One of these things just doesn't belong. She's also, by the way, she's working well over in Justice League Unlimited. She and Wonder Woman are forging kind of a friendship.
Yay!
And in the last issue, they were, something is said about they're comparing the differences between Athena and Minerva, because she's like, Wonder Woman says, the wisdom of Athena, and she goes, "Oh, mine comes from Minerva," and but they're really the same people, right? And Wonder Woman goes, "Oh, child." No, they're not. We have to talk. I thought they were just different names for the same goddess. No. But it's just a cute scene, and I love that Wonder Woman and Mary Marvel are finally, connecting.
Well, they've been doing a lot with Mary Marvel and the Themyscirians for quite some time now.
Right.
I also have to correct you.
Okay.
The mind bug is
Uh-huh.
not SETI Alpha 5. Remember, this is not SETI Alpha 5.
Oh, SETI Alpha 6.
This is SETI Alpha 6.
You're right. You're right.
Sorry, couldn't
It's
help
okay.
it.
No, that's good. So I'm wondering if, should we, instead of, because, okay, she's Mary. Mary what? Nobody says Marvel. That's verboten. She's just Mary.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Mary, and I'm thinking, why doesn't she use the Major or Major Mary or Sergeant Major Mary? Now, at one time, Majorette would have been great.
Yeah, but now,
But not nowadays. It just,
yeah.
it wouldn't work. But
it's interesting because in DC versus Vampires, she's
Mhm.
Mary Marvel.
see, they have avoided using that full name as often as they can, I've noticed, in the stuff that I've read with her lately. So she just, given the choice, they'll just say Mary. Hey, Mary.
But
Which
that's,
just,
Well,
yeah,
I-
it diminishes her.
yeah.
again, I if it was me, and this is my creative mind going based upon all the last stories that she was in, plus the last title that she was in,
Mhm.
why just not call her the champion? Because she
Yeah,
was
yeah,
technically the
okay.
last champion of Shazam
Yeah.
in another title. So just call her the champion. She is the
Yeah,
champion.
and that gives you all C's with Captain, Commander, and Champion. That would work. Yeah. Okay, so we solved the issue.
We
Okay.
just solved that issue.
Now, Commander having a different pantheon, I think, is an excellent addition to the Shazam mythology.
Mhm.
Hopefully, we will continue to see how the powers that he's given are similar and yet maybe a little different than those of Cap.
Okay.
The turning of the tide, which comes from Freddy coming into his own super identity, it's a great moment in the conflict. One of those moments, the way that it's written, it's one of those effective moments turning utter failure into an exciting fighting chance. So
Ooh,
it was a nice wrap for this issue.
cool.
But we have the bad.
Oh,
I showed you some panels, and the art of Dan McDade is, for my money, and this is subjective. Art is always subjective, but he's an extremely poor choice for this title as an artist. McDade he definitely has talent, but here he's not just a fish out of water. He's a fish in formaldehyde to me. DC, please bring back Dan Mora, who was the artist on the title when Wade was writing it, and do it quick, or somebody like him. McDade's style, I think, is barely serviceable, and it actively sucks some of the joy from an otherwise very enjoyable storyline. He could be fine on other books. I think he would excel at things that maybe were not capes and cowls. But his handling of the art here is the weakest link on this title's current run, I feel. The issue has several twists. Most of them are good, but there is one, and I will lay this at the feet of Campbell. She is trying to cleverly disguise a classic characterization under layers before turning expectations on their heads. And there's just something about the way she approaches it that is, from the very moment it began, I'm like, this does not track. This isn't right. This isn't going to work. And yeah, sure enough, it's a feint. It's not real. So that was one of the few parts of the script that didn't work well. Now, for some readers, they're going to hate, they changed Freddy's pantheon. They changed Freddy. They changed what his name is, because that's not the way it's been done before. But hey, changing things just to do it, that's annoying. I'll grant you. But in the storyline as presented, an alternate pantheon makes a lot of sense, and it establishes Cap Jr. as the commander who feels more like his own superhero than he ever has. I mean, this is not bad for a character that once couldn't even say his own name without changing. So, Shazam number 19 delivers a very suitable end to the previous storyline, and it jumpstarts the new one without missing a beat. It's a fun read with long-term potentials for the Shazam fam, especially for Freddie. Even if the art drags down the final product some, it was my favorite read of the week that it came out. So that's why this issue earned 7.5 CC Beck curmudgeonly kudos out of 10.
That wasn't that bad.
That wasn't
Not
bad
bad
at all.
No.
Not bad at all. Now, oh my God, I just turned into Bill Pullman.
Okay.
Independence Day,
Oh, yeah.
Independence Day, you know, when
Mhm.
the last thing he says to what's his name is not bad at all. Walks out of frame. It's like, okay, I am now Bill Pullman. That and my other favorite line of his is I'm not dead yet. He did a movie, I'm trying to think, it came out after Independence Day. He played a reporter that was looking into voodoo. And he ends up getting they end up doing a thing to his mind. It ends up becoming quite the sort of horrific little mind trip for him. And they do at one point put him in I think they put him in a coffin to bury him. And
they've come to bury Lone Star, not to praise him.
Well, we gotta wrap it up a bit here because I got people that I need to call before 10.
Okay.
It is 9.
Okay.
And I need Polishes.
Uh-oh, that's not
I
good.
haven't eaten. So
No.
That's why I said that's not good.
Yeah, I need to
We
eat.
wasn't going the other route with it. I kind of figured that it was food.
Well, thanks for letting me do the review because, like I said, I pulled those old comics and stuff out, and I'm like, I am not putting these back in the dusty holder and bringing them back out next week. So.
No, that's cool because they did reprints of when the show started doing well on ABC. I remember reading reprints of some of the more classic books and enjoying the hell out of them, especially when they introduced Mary. You know, because as a girl, you want to see it's not that you don't like the super dudes, you just want to see a super chick.
Yeah.
So
again, that also spawned my interest in Isis more so than anything else, even though she had nothing to do with the actual pantheon for it, but they did something akin to that.
Isis is my favorite guy. If anybody who's ever read her story, she is the hero's journey personified. If you ever read about her story with her husband, she is the hero's journey personified, and I love it for that. But anyway, yes, it is getting late. I need to eat. Charles looks like he's about to cough up a lung.
Well, you know what that means. Say bye-bye.
Yeah. Thank you guys for joining us. Sorry, I know I drug it down today. I will behave next time. We love you. We cherish your being here. And these are decent guys, which is, you know, why I haven't shown up at their houses in the middle of the night with, you know, meat cleavers ready to do
that. She would do that. She would come with that boom box and hold it over her head. It would be some of the most threatening music ever. And she's looking at that door like, don't come out here. I will get you.
But yes, we appreciate you guys checking in with us every week. And I appreciate you guys letting me become part of the CBS family. See you later. Bye.
And now we get to Clyde.
Hey, I'm Clyde Hall, elder statesman of geekery, as you can tell by my Shazam rant. So you can follow me on Facebook at Clyde Hall, of Radiating Positive Vibes with author Clyde Hall. Every day we put up one post that tries to get your day off to a better start. It could look at different kinds of art. Sometimes we look at museums. We have Mirthful Midweek when we do all the memes I've seen in the week that made me chuckle. So join me there. I'm also on Twitter at CJHall1984, and I'm on Blue Sky at captainaction.bsky.social. Or my Amazon authors page is right down here on this link. I am currently part of the comic book review crew at comicsbeat.com, aka The Beat, at www.comicsbeat.com, as well as here every Thursday night at 7 o'clock Central for Comic Book Spectrum. In my spare time, I'm an independent award-winning author and a contributing writer at Stormgate Press. The latest now available is Pulp Reality number 5. It just came out last week. It's a new pulp tribute to the masked mystery vigilante tradition. And I have an original character called the Mannequin. He's crime's worst nightmare. He's a good man who became a soldier and then found the same evils that he fought overseas waiting for him on the home front when he returned from World War II. You can find more of my work in all the Stormgate Press anthologies like Spurs and Six Shooters, Tales of the Old West, and Tim Bruckner's Major Marjorie, and The Lost Adventures of Captain Hawkland, both volumes 1 and 2. Go to www.stormgatepress.com or on Amazon to experience the best in new pulp entertainment. Comic Book Spectrum is brought to you by one of our bullpen members at Stormgate Press. That's artist Jeffrey Hayes at Plasma Fire Graphics. He is a Pulp Factory award-winning artist because of covers like this that he did for Brian K. Morris's The Terrors. All of the other books I just showed you, this is all of his work too, along with my composition here.
Serigraph right there behind you, over your shoulder.
Yes. So for your next project, whether it's books or games, novels, short stories, or other graphic-related work, you want somebody who brings people to your table in a good way. The ones that see those covers and go, "Ooh, I can't wait to crack that open and look what's inside." Jeffrey Hayes is that someone. He's easy to work with. He's affordable. And, those are just bonuses because his talent speaks for itself. And Joe can tell you now how to get Plasma Fire Graphics working for you.
That's right, because why? We got this little video for you to take a look at here, starting right now.
You've worked hard and written a great book. Now it's time to give it a great cover. If you're an indie author or small press publisher, Plasma Fire Graphics is your source for affordable cover illustration and graphic design. Plasma Fire Graphics, when the look of your book matters to you.
You've seen the actual books that Clyde held up. You've seen the video. So now give Jeffrey Hayes a quick little message by going out to plasmafiregraphics.com or his Facebook group, Plasma Fire Graphics. As far as I'm concerned, I will be back here Saturday. And for those who are going to show up Saturday, be prepared because I might end up ranting and raving. Why? Because the topic for that night is going to be what everybody's talking about as of late in comic book collecting, which is the bankruptcy filing for Diamond Distribution. We're going to recover a lot of stuff that I covered in videos before. Unfortunately, I can't link back to the original stuff about the history, but I'm going to bring a lot of the stuff that I have covered before from articles and all the other stuff. And we might have a special guest Saturday. Might. It could happen. It's an outside chance. But if the outside chance happens, it's going to be one heck of a conversation, some ranting, some raving, and a lot of knowledge being shared amongst everybody. Now, mind you, we're going to do this as best of unbiasedly as possible, talking about that topic here, as well as show some comic book pickups and all the other good stuff that we normally do on Saturday. So until next Thursday, I bid you adieu, live life, grow, and be well. And unlike Brian K. Morris, I don't care if you wash your hands, but never, and I do mean never, apologize for being awesome. We'll catch you here next Thursday on Comic Book Spectrum. Have a good evening.